Salutations, friends. My name is Brianna Bond, otherwise known as No Ordinary Scholar, and welcome to this nice little throwback video. We are going way back to Romeo and Juliet. Now. You over there thinking that we're going to be talking about that Romeo and Juliet analysis that I did, you should go watch that. That's going to be right around here. We'll throw it up in the iCard. You should go check that out because it is a good video. I do like it. I do appreciate it. But that's not what we're talking about today. No, today we're actually going way back to El Dorado High School Gold Rush's Romeo and Juliet show of 2016-2017. If you have no idea what I'm talking about, or, hey guys, you just need a refresher, hi guys, go ahead and check out the react video I did to this, because I don't even think it would be in this corner. It would be in that corner. I think that corner. It's gonna be there. But no, I did a react video. I watched through the show for the first time in like 2 years. Let's have some chatums. Not sure if you noticed, but I've got these nice new props over here. I should rearrange them. I'm gonna rearrange them. These are Sesame Street and Cause collaboration plushies. These things came out a year ago, and I only just now got them because they were severely marked down, but that means I didn't end up getting Bert and Ernie. Tragic. I could throw a video around here explaining more about Cause, his works and stuff. Back here we have Cookie Monster. Cookies. And he is holding the color black. We have Big Bird holding I Hear Colors. Big Bird was always my favorite. And then we have Elmo holding, actually, not a book I wrote, I, Robot by Isaac Asimov. And this is just the current book that I'm reading. I'm rereading this. This is actually probably my favorite book. I'm rereading this. If you want to know more about that, check out my Instagram, but more about that after my hiatus, which if you also didn't know about my hiatus, you should check out my Patreon account because over there they got all the information. But yeah, I'm going on a hiatus after August, and in fact, this is my last video before the hiatus, and I thought this would just be super fun to do. So without further ado, the Romeo and Juliet show choir show. It is loosely based on Romeo and Juliet. You have to go over to the other video and see, like, I kind of rant about the differences in the show, and I get a little salty. It bothers me a little bit. Romeo and Juliet, they fall in love, their parents ain't having it, and then the two kids end up taking their lives, and that's basically what's similar about the two. Major difference, because it's a show choir, instead of race being the major differentiator for this, the two groups were signified by the Montagues representing the genre of punk rock, and the Capulets representing the genre of hip-hop. Before we go any further, I want to just do a quick breakdown of the characters you're going to need to know. You have Romeo, you have Juliet, you got me, Mama Cap, you got Papa Cap, Mama M, Papa M, Tybalt, my nephew, the hype man, who was actually just not a character in the play. They just threw him in there because hip-hop and Tybalt reps, so they gave him a hype man. And the nurse, who is broken into like 16 characters for this show. Now that we understand each other, now that we know what we're working with, let's find out why we're here today. Like, what was so important about this show that I need to talk about it right here, right now on this channel? I felt it necessary to discuss. Well, there's something very subtle going on in the Capulet family, if you know what I'm talking about. You can see it, but if you're not paying attention, you'll miss it entirely. And that struggle, that problem, those issues, it's all focused around my own marriage. That's right, guys. It's very clear, it's very visible if you look at the show through its blocking. What's blocking? You're not sponsored by Lego. Dog, I wish. No, blocking is the term in like theater for where you place people along the stage. If you look at our blocking, for myself and Papa Cap throughout the show, we are regularly separated from each other, whereas our counterparts over on the Montague family are always together. Even from the very first note of the show, from the point where you're trying to hook the audience in by showing them the world they're entering, everyone is sitting down but myself and my husband have like 1 to 2 people sitting in between us. Then we do go on to the big house party that the Capulets are throwing, and he and I are on completely opposite ends of the party. Now, some may say that might be just so we can mingle with whoever, but I'm essentially just hanging around a bunch of Montagues who I wouldn't like. He's not talking to anybody, really. So we're just staying away from each other. So there's no real reason. We're not shown doing anything that would justify us wanting to be so far apart. And the biggest hit here is our ballad. Now, the ballad of the show, it does a lot to set like this romantic and this hopeful feeling for everyone there. Realistically, everyone's supposed to be feeling hopeful about something. And for this point in the show, you do have the Montague parents who are sitting together. I'm sitting next to Juliet, which shows that I'm probably closer to her than I am my husband, because he is 1/4 of the circle. We're all sitting in a circle. He's like 1/4 of the circle away from me. I think he's closer to the Montagues than he is to me. And it's just, we're regularly separated throughout the show. And the only 2 times we are ever close to each other, the only 2 times we are blocked close to each other, is the opening of the show when we are in agreement that we don't want Juliet to be with Romeo. That's one. And the other is at the very end of the show, where everyone is dressed in white. And it's not supposed to be like heaven or whatever. It's supposed to be, what if we were in an alternate universe? Because we were doing the multiverse before the MCU was. But what if we were in this alternate universe, an ideal universe? There, you would get to see Romeo and Juliet being together, being surrounded by all the people we love, but you also do get to see myself and my husband being happy and being together. Now, cool. We know that there's a problem. We know that there's something going on with me and him, because we're all given casting, but the blocking specifically for him and myself seems to be quite the antithesis of the labels that we're given. But why? Believe it or not, I cheated on my husband. How do I know? Obviously, Joey is not my child. She and I look absolutely nothing alike. She's taller than both him and I, so it's not likely that she was a product of ours. But you know, there is one person that does look similar to me on that stage, and that is one of the nurses. My stepdaughter is best friends with my birth daughter. Outside of looks, I can prove this because we do have, I think, 2 other like black mixed kids in the group, but I'm never near these kids. But there is a time, a very important time, when I am standing next to my nurse daughter. We'll call her Nurse Rosie. During that same ballad, that same hopeful, loving ballad, I'm near my stepdaughter, but I'm also near Nurse Rosie. I'm sitting between the 2. Don't worry, this is all going to start piecing together, and it might sound weird now, but when you see all of the puzzle pieces as they connect towards the end, everything's going to start making sense. Back to it. Hold on, let me get a drink. There is a question that is to be asked, and that is, if Julia is my stepdaughter, what's to say that I actually cheated? Nurse Rosie isn't just a child I had before that relationship as well. First of all, we aren't treating her like another child. She is often separate from us, except in the most pivotal emotional moments. She isn't around us ever. He keeps a strong distance away from Nurse Rosie at all times. So he has some issue with her, with the concept of her, which begs the question, who is the father? I know, I'm teaching you guys a lot about blocking today, and it's so much fun. There's only one person that could possibly be the father of Nurse Rosie, and that is the hype man. Because again, he wasn't a part of this world at all until this show. So we don't have a lot of confirmed information about his story. But what I do know is actually going to be with 3 major blocking decisions that they made with him. One is with that opening scene. In that scene, I'm not sitting next to my husband, as Mama Montague is. I'm not sitting next to my husband. I'm sitting next to him. 2, We get to this point because in this show, they change the concepts for the deaths and the reasons for the deaths. In the show, Romeo is tormented by 3 images, and that causes him to take his own life. The images are Mercutio, who was killed by Tybalt, who Romeo himself killed, and the Hype Man, who is not dead at this point in the show. He is still very much alive. What demon would the Hype Man represent that would be up there with murder for Romeo? Destroying a family. Because you have one girl, Juliet, we are close to each other when she needs that hopeful song. I'm close to her for that. She sees me as a mother. And then I have one child who's been completely shut out in order to make this marriage work. This man who's presumably put a lot of strain on 2 different potential families. The next thing I want to talk about is the fact that after everyone has died, the entire stage goes dark and we're all holding candles, which, I'm not gonna lie, I did it first, but I digress. And there's another monologue. We had a lot of them in this show, but this time it's done by the Hype Man. And this monologue is going to lead us into that ideal world, that number. He's literally transitioning us from, like, the 2 main characters just died to everyone can be happy. Why would he get that monologue if he wasn't important? Friar Lawrence was in the show. He could have done it, but he didn't. The last scene that really helped to solidify the idea that he is the father of Nurse Rosie is when we are at the wedding scene at the very end of the show. Well, not very end, close to the end of the show. Everyone from the main characters of the show come down into a line. You have Romeo and Juliet coming down the aisle. You have on this side people from Capulet House, and this side people from Montague House. He, the Hype Man, though he has been portrayed this entire time as being extremely partial to the Capulets, he is shown on the Montague side. And if you look closely, he is actually mirroring Nurse Rosie in that bit where we're talking about what would be an ideal world. So the ideal for them would be if you could draw a line from father to daughter and start that new family there. That was fun. That was so much fun to write. That was so much fun to just analyze through it. In fact, when we would rehearse, I would sit there thinking, like, why am I never next to the guy playing my husband? That's weird. I wanted to do this as an exercise, essentially, to show that the story you put together, the story you write, it's not necessarily the same story you're telling. So what I mean by that is, do I think they intentionally wanted it to seem like I had cheated on my husband and had another child with the side rapper? No, I don't think they intended for that. I don't think that was intentional. But at the same time, that is still something that I can pull from the show. Thank you so much for listening, guys. I'm super excited for this hiatus. This is the last video, technically, again, not including like vlog. I'm gonna do still another vlog. Patrons are gonna get it at the end of the month. Everyone else gets it kind of beginning mid-August. But yeah, this is the last No Ordinary Scholar video I'm gonna be doing until September. So if you have any questions, if you have any requests, Patreon, the comment section down below, all of it's open for you guys. And again, if you're interested in those desk side minis, those I will be doing. I do think I'm going to still do those throughout August. So check out my Instagram, linked down below, as well as my Facebook, noordinaryscholar.com. And if you really like what's going on here, please consider checking out that Patreon account. But until next time, guys, maledictions, friends.